Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 104 of Crunch Time with the N326 duo. I am your host today, Sam Gotzi, and with me today, as always, is my co-host, Tanner Dislin. Tanner, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. The thought just occurred to me. One of these days, you know what I need to do? I need to do the Collinsworth slide.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe
Absolutely.
do it next episode, but
Maybe.
I'm doing well, man. It's a great time to be alive. I was in Iowa City this past weekend, saw a pretty exciting game, and I mean it wasn't, but then it was an exciting game. So we'll definitely talk about that, and of course the MLB playoffs started today. So yeah, I mean that's the first time I watched baseball since the Mets traded away their entire team.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely excited to be watching some baseball again, and to get back into it.
Yeah, it's a busy time if you're a sports fan. We got, like you said, MLB playoffs, football season obviously underway. We got NBA warming up with media days and that great look by Jimmy Butler, and also so much more. We're going to talk about a lot today. Winners, losers, recapping some college football and NFL. Obviously, nominating our players of the week, and wrapping up with a question. We talk about this and so much more on episode 104 of Crunch Time. Tanner, we're going to kick it off as we always do. Who is your winner for this episode?
Yeah, Sam. Well, I already talked about it a little bit, but we're going to go ahead on the diamond real quick. Maybe a sneak peek for an on the diamond to come next week. But I'm going to go with the Minnesota Twins. Any baseball fan knows that the Minnesota Twins have not won a playoff game in 18 years. Well, today they played the Toronto Blue Jays at home. Target Field was rocking. Got to give credit, in the middle of the day at like 3:30 p.m. Target Field was rocking, and the Twins ended up taking the game 3-1 to get that first win in 18 years. Now, I say the Twins are the winners, but it really should be Royce Lewis and the Twins pitching staff, because that pitching staff only let up one run. Pablo Lopez was awesome. He went 5 2/3, 5 hits, 1 earned, 2 walks, 3 Ks, and then that bullpen combined for 3 1/3, 0 runs, 1 hit. So that bullpen was awesome. Only one walk and 4 strikeouts. So
not bad. Not bad.
Good outing from the bullpen, but the MVP of the game, of course, Royce Lewis. He went 2 for 3. He had a 2-run home run in the first inning, had a solo home run in the third or fourth inning. And those were the 3 runs. So he drove in all 3, hit 2 home runs, and that pitching staff was dominant. So Twins, first win in 18 years.
Yeah, that is definitely deserving of a winner. For me, my winner is going to be YouTuber Mr. Beast. Did you hear about Mr. Beast?
About this.
Mr. Beast, for those of you who don't know, is a massive YouTuber, one of the biggest, might be the biggest. I know there's some older, like David Dobrik, for example, but I think Mr. Beast has a crown of the king of YouTube right now. And he has a brand called Feastables. Most notably, for Feastables is his chocolate bar. It's sold in every big store you can possibly imagine. He got his brand logo on the Charlotte Hornets jersey. It obviously debuted with Media Day being the past couple days. So that's a first in history, and I'm sure it's going to come more and more. I'm sure Prime is going to be on a jersey someday for sure. But yeah, Mr. Beast got to be a winner, taking his brand of Feastables to a whole nother level.
That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Although hopefully he doesn't do something egregious like cure people of blindness anymore. Yeah. Get mad at him for that.
Yeah. Right? Duh.
Yeah. Duh. How dare he? How dare he? He does that again, the Hornets are going to have to take it off.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that was super cool. Let's go on the other side of the coin. Tanner, who is your loser?
Yeah, my loser of the episode is going to be Rodney Harrison, who is a former NFL player and is currently on the desk for sorry, to get cut off. Second and third, one out. An absolute rocket in the 6 hole, and Evan Longoria has still got it and made a diving play for the double play to end the inning. Looked like Milwaukee's going to take the lead, but end of the inning. Sorry. But Rodney Harrison, former NFL player, now on the desk at NBC on Sunday Night Football. The Chiefs and the Jets played, and Zach Wilson, of course, he actually outplayed Patrick Mahomes in this game. Of course, the Chiefs still won because refs and the Chiefs, of course, were going to beat the Jets. The referees were definitely suspect in this game, but at the end, he was Rodney Harrison, that is, was interviewing Chris Jones, the star pass rusher for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he asked him in an interview on TV, "Was Zach better than you anticipated? Was Zach better than you anticipated he would be when watching him on tape?" He asked him, and then he said, "You can be honest." And then, Chris Jones tried to tiptoe around that because what an obviously strange question. And then he came back with, "But watching that tape, you got to look at this dude and say, oh, he's garbage. Like, we should really tear him apart." So, yeah. What on earth is that?
L reporting.
What on earth is that? I got to give all the credit in the world to Chris Jones, who responded it. He may have overcorrected a little bit and said Wilson was special. He did call him special, which definitely maybe a little too far.
Performance, maybe.
Yeah, shoot, if he could do that again. But still, I mean, the way he came back, with it and just saying that, like, man, basically beating around the bush, saying, no, he's not trash. He's a good football player. And he needs to be in the right situation. He needs to have a good team. He needs to have good play calling, all that stuff. He needs to have support from the fans. And that was an absolutely trash question to ask him if he thought Zach Wilson was better because he thought Zach Wilson was going to be trash. Like, I can't believe that, really.
Yeah, given we were all thinking Zach Wilson is not a great
Oh, he's totally trash.
Yeah, but so unprofessional, not something you do as a reporter. So definitely worthy of our loser.
But again, as much as Rodney Harrison is a loser, Chris Jones deserves to be a winner for how he handled it, because there are a lot of ways that could go, and he handled it perfectly.
Yeah, no doubt. For my loser, I'm going to go with a former NFL running back, Philip Lindsay. Did you hear about this? Oh, so obviously former Broncos running back, right? He was
Colorado Buffalo, right?
He was tuned in to he is, yeah. Tuned in to the Broncos game, obviously a horrible game. And he tweeted, "Where are the receivers? All that money out there to be no-shows." A couple hours later, Jerry Jeudy from the top rope. "Glad you got to watch the game from the crib, fam."
He said, "We're missing you on the field, bro. What happened?"
Yeah, that is just, you gotta just hold up the L.
Just hold
the L. Fill up and take the loss here, because Jerry Jeudy absolutely flamed you on Twitter or X. Sorry, but yeah,
Idiot.
definitely worth a loser spot in this episode. Just getting absolutely flamed on X. But let's move on, Tanner. College football, full swing. Let's talk about it. Week 5. USC Colorado, Tanner. 11 a.m. kickoff. 9 a.m. for USC players. So that was kind of brutal. But USC pulls out a close one, 48-41. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think right here I have two main comments, right? Because USC won. We expected them to. High scoring game, USC. I mean, that off, of course. Caleb Williams against that Colorado defense. I mean, he had his way. He was an absolute beast. All that is true. On the Colorado side of things, I was impressed. I was impressed at the resolve, because after they get absolutely pounded 42-6 against Oregon, the entire college football community is laughing at them, calling them frauds, calling them that they played nobody, and that the minute they play anyone in the Pac-12, they're just going to get pounded. Then they play USC, and USC jumps out to a quick 21-0 lead. They very easily could have just turned the brakes off or just shut down.
Yeah,
just completely shut down and gone into the locker room and just hoped that it would end. But no, they came back. They fought. They actually outgained USC in terms of yardage, fought all the way back, and even held USC scoreless in the fourth quarter. But it was just not enough, as USC won 48-41. USC is more than 7 points better than this Colorado team.
Absolutely.
But of course, if you're Colorado, you can't really get down 21-0. But it was real impressive to see them bounce back after getting smoked the week before and having a tough first quarter in this game to bounce back. That is, of course, got to give credit where credit's due to Coach Prime over in Boulder. I mean, again, a lot of teams would have folded. Now on the USC side of things, I picked them to make the playoff. I'm real scared about that pick because that defense cannot stop anything.
No,
they literally cannot stop anything. I don't think Oregon has a particularly great defense. They held Colorado to 6 points. 6. Colorado scored 41 on this USC defense. Again, outgained them 564 total yards. They were 9 for 18 on third down. 50%. That's not good, USC. That is not good.
Yeah.
And for USC to go anywhere, you just need something, literally anything from that defense. Did not give it to them this week. They're just better than Colorado, and there are going to be a lot of shootouts in their future. And if they want to make the playoff, they're going to need something.
Yeah, this was vintage Pac-12 matchup for sure. A lot of points, not a lot of defense. Last week we were talking about this game, and I noted that I'm not very high on USC's defense. Always pretty.
That aged like a fine wine.
Yeah, it did. Did not look good. Like you said, though, Colorado played good. Shedeur Sanders had one of his best games so far this season. 564 total yards, 371 passing. It was honestly a battle of quarterbacks in this one. Not the only battle of quarterbacks this past weekend, but yeah, man. USC is definitely better than beating Colorado by 7, but excuse me. Definitely some concerns on the defensive side of the ball for USC for sure.
You can't apologize for a road conference win, but it definitely. It's just
and
look in the mirror.
Yeah, looking at the stats, it seems that Colorado was just moving the ball. It's just same story goes for both of these teams. Both teams gave up over nearly 500 yards in total offense. Like I said, vintage Pac-12, a lot of points, no defense. But USC got it done at the end of the day. And it really came down to Caleb Williams playing better than Shedeur. Caleb Williams had another Heisman-like performance, 30 for 40, 403 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 1 interception. But when you throw for 6, you're bound to have a couple turnovers. But let's move on, Tanner, to game a lot of people were looking forward to this. It was a college game day game. Notre Dame Duke. Notre Dame only wins by 7 here, 21-14. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's granted they were 2 primetime games and back-to-back weeks against Duke and Ohio State, but Sam Hartman's put together 2 relatively inefficient games back-to-back. And obviously that really hurt in that USC game where the defense showed up. The offense really couldn't get much going. And in this game, you do end up winning, of course, the injury to
Riley Leonard.
Yeah. Yep. It definitely didn't help. But Yeah, it's just Duke's. It just seems that this team is going to go as far as that running game can take them. 323 total yards and 189 of them were on the ground. So only 134 through the air. Of course, part of that is that injury, especially now. That running game is just going to be so monumental for Duke. And then on the side of Notre Dame, I mean, again, it's not a conference game because Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference,
Mhm.
but it's, they play that ACC schedule or whatever. But you don't apologize for a road ranked win.
Yeah.
The eye test hasn't been great
Yeah.
with Notre Dame over the past 2 weeks. Just a gritty game against Ohio State where they couldn't get it done, and then this one where Hartman didn't look all that great either. But hey, you won this. Great bounce back after the Ohio State loss. So, I mean, I'm probably not taking too much stock if I'm a Notre Dame fan. I'm happy I got the win. But yeah, it's just hopefully Duke's quarterback's okay.
Yeah. Riley Leonard, for those of you who don't know, suffered a high ankle sprain late in the game on Saturday. My biggest question here is, especially if you're a Duke fan, is how bad is that injury? It was late. I believe it was in the final play for Duke on offense, fumbled the ball. It kind of sealed that win for Notre Dame. But when you're looking at a guy like Riley Leonard, yeah, he didn't have the most efficient game passing the ball, only 12 for 27, 134 yards, one touchdown. When we've seen him ball out against teams like Clemson. But not only is he efficient, wasn't efficient in the passing game in this one, you also have him be your rushing lean rusher here with 18 carries, 88 yards at a 5-yard average. That's definitely a huge concern for Duke. How serious that injury is. It's believed not to be a season ending, but a high ankle sprain is not something to ignore. But I totally agree with you, Tanner. I mean, I think we are both pretty high on Sam Hartman coming into season. Definitely gotten better receivers and playmakers from Wake Forest last year. I believe both of us had him, if not in our top 5 for preseason Heisman, close to it. And in the big games, he kind of hasn't showed up like we expect him to. 15 for 30. Yeah, that looks good, but 222 yards and 0 touchdowns. Not what we expect from a Heisman hopeful. So definitely cause for concerns with the Notre Dame offense. Definitely relying heavily on that rushing attack. But yeah, so you can't be mad at getting a road win against a ranked opponent for
Right.
sure.
And then I also want to say, like, of course, got to shout out that defense, right? I mean, as quote unquote bad as the offense looked, I mean, back to back weeks, you give up 17 to Ohio State. Of course, you lose that game, but then you go and give up 14 to Duke. That's 31 total in that 2 weeks. Duke scored 38 against Northwestern, 28 against Clemson. Like, you're right around there, about season average. And between those 2 weeks together. So, I mean, that defense does look promising. Got to shout out that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this next game had no defense whatsoever. Excuse me. Probably the best game of the weekend. Actually, not probably. It was the best game of the weekend, without a doubt. And this, of course, is LSU Ole Miss. Ole Miss pulls out a home win, 55-49. Tanner, there's a lot to unpack here. Obviously, not going to look at the defense, but tell me, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, when you have a game like this, it really comes down to two things, right? And of course, one is majority within a team's control. That's turnovers. LSU had the only turnover of the game.
Yeah.
And guess what? It was a one possession game. And when points are just flying off the board, of course, every possession counts. And well, if you flip the script and you go from, instead of being ahead and being chased in the score, in the score climb.
Right
Reversing,
now, 100, right?
reversing that, if you do turn the ball over and then you're chasing, that really hurts, right?
Yeah.
And then, especially in a game like this, where it's kind of who has the ball last. In this game, Ole Miss had the ball last. One of the main reasons why that LSU turnover.
Yeah. I'm marking it as my game of the year, Tanner.
Wow.
This game was so fun to watch.
Not to be confused with a betting game of the year.
Yeah.
But like
yes.
a spectator game of the year.
Spectator game of the year. This was awesome. Obviously, you want to see some defense. We didn't get much of that in this one. Ole Miss had 760 yards. A little bit. Like, give me 500 yards.
Okay.
But 706 yards for Ole Miss, 637 with LSU. That's gonna be that one game is gonna be higher than Iowa's like past 2 seasons. So that's cool to think about.
Quick math here. I mean, let's 1343, 1,343 yards in this game. How many yards has Iowa gotten this year, you think? I don't know the answer, but
can't be more than 400.
Well, we've played 5 games.
One that we only got 73 yards.
Got 73 yards. You're so right. I think it'll at least be over 1,000.
Iowa total yards.
I think it'll at least be over 1,000. Yeah,
but anyway, we'll come back to that later. But this game was so fun. 2 Heisman hopefuls again battling it out. We talked about the battle of the quarterbacks last week with Ole Miss, Bama. Jackson Dart came to play today. He said it was one of the funnest game he played, and I don't know how you can't say when you throw 389 yards, 4 tutties, no interceptions, and just balling out for the home crowd. Now on the other side, so Jackson Dart, obviously Ole Miss, huge, needed the stop. It really came down to who can get a stop here, and Ole Miss got that stop. But looking on the other side of things, this is one of the best one of the best offenses we've seen from LSU since 2019, probably, which doesn't seem that long ago, but it's on that level. Jane Daniels, 414 yards, 4 touchdowns. Logan Diggs rushing for 101, 2 touchdowns. Jane Daniels adding a rushing touchdown to 100 or 99 yards. Holy 513 total yards from Jane Daniels. That's insane. And then Brian Thomas Jr. again, 3 touchdowns. Malik Neighbors, 102 receiving. It really came down to defense, who can make that stop. And this is kind of unlike LSU. Usually you have the dominating offense, such like 2019, for example, one of the best college teams. I'm not saying this team is on that caliber offensively, but LSU is known for their defense. How many defensive backs have they put through the NFL and been high level? We're just not seeing that from LSU this year. It's wild. Like, yeah, I was talking to my one of my buddies, Connor Bro. He's an LSU fan, and he's like, "Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to win when you give up dang near 600 yards," and that's a fact. But this game was a blast. So much fun to watch. But yeah, game of the year for me. Excuse me.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead.
But yeah, so I have the answer.
Okay.
Everyone is dying to know. So in this game, there were 1,443 yards.
Okay.
So far this season, through 5 games.
That's going to make me sad.
So this has got 5 data points for Iowa, right? 5. Okay. And 2 data points, LSU Ole Miss, 5 games for Iowa. Iowa has 1,204 yards for an average of 240 per game. So,
speaking of that horrific offensive performances by the Iowa Hawkeyes, let's hop into their game.
Let's do it.
They somehow pulled out a win at home, 26-16 over a head coachless Michigan State. Aaron, you were at this game.
I was.
You got to see what, like, physically, not through the TV lens, but in person, this game. What were your thoughts? Obviously, we'll hop into the major injury. Cade McNamara going down 4 plays in, torn ACL out for season. But from that moment, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, so yeah, he only recorded 5 passes.
Okay.
So unfortunate one for Cade. Of course, I feel very bad for him having problems with the knee, losing his job at Michigan. Again, a college football playoff hopeful. Well, champion hopeful. But anyway, I gotta say, Sam, I was impressed with Deacon Hill in this game. Of course, my expectations were at the very, very, very bottom.
Yeah.
An already bad offense. You bring in a backup quarterback. It's just like raps, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, wrong. Like I think people are gonna look at the stats and see that he wasn't that impressive or wasn't that efficient. Really, there was only one bad decision. He stared down the receiver the whole time.
Yeah.
A pretty bad pick. But that's fine if, I'm not going to harp on that because, again, he didn't expect to play. He didn't have the whole offseason to work with the wide receivers who apparently can't catch because they had 6 drops on the day, including 3 from Deontay Vines, 1 from Nico Ragaini, who is as sure-handed as they come for Iowa over the past
6 years,
5, 6, 7, 8 years. I think Caleb Brown dropped one. I mean, he doesn't get much playing time. Yeah, tough to come in and do that. And I even think Seth Anderson dropped one as well.
Yep.
So, I mean, I do think there's a lack of touch on his ball. He does throw the ball a little hard, a little rough around the edges, kind of a raw passer, but that's okay. That can be taught, I think. Whether we have the coaches to teach that is something else, but I think just another week of work with the wide receivers, like maybe get used to a different ball speed, different rotation, whatever it is, and maybe he can learn a little bit of touch, and we can get a little bit of movement on both sides. But the thing I was impressed the most with Deacon Hill is the poise. He looked very comfortable in the pocket. He looked very comfortable moving in the pocket. And when you come from Cade McNamara, who was already not 100%, that is a very different feeling. He felt very stationary, very hesitant to scramble, very hesitant to step up, move around. Deacon was all about that. He was moving like crazy in the pocket, and it was pretty cool to see. And very surprising to see. I like that pocket presence out of him. And one more thing from the quarterback position, Iowa can finally sneak again.
Yeah.
Ferentz said in the beginning of the year that they would not sneak with Cade McNamara with his knee.
Yeah.
And well, Deacon Hill not only is the sneak back on the table, he's a very large dude. I don't even know how big he is.
I think he's like 6'5", 250, 260.
Huge. He's a very big human, so that sneak will be very effective for Iowa. So that's kind of what I was looking at the quarterback position. On the other side of the ball, my main takeaway, or I guess the other two sides, my main takeaway on the defensive side is that defense is back. They were a little leaky in terms of yardage in the first half. However, bend don't break, as Iowa always does. They held them to 3 points each time. Second half, they did not allow a single point. Michigan State scored a touchdown in the third quarter from a scoop and score from their defense. So the Iowa defense in the second half was unbelievable. And yeah, Michigan State's offense got nothing going. Their quarterback, Noah Kim, threw 3 interceptions, 25 for 44. Rough day for him. Some big interceptions to one in the end zone to Cooper DeJean. And then, of course, on the special team side of things, Cooper DeJean with that touchdown return.
Yeah.
As clutch as it gets, that dude is an absolute playmaker. You just got to make sure you can block and hope the punter gets enough hang time, or gets not enough hang time to where he can actually get some room to run. But
yeah,
kind of a complete game from Iowa, as they always do, from a good defensive effort, great special teams effort. Offense did just enough.
Yep. This was a classic Iowa Hawkeye performance. at least in the past 4 years. Um, we had a question, Terry. You already touched on it, but Dana Riley is wanting to get our thoughts on Deacon Hill. You've already given your side of things. I was also pretty impressed with Deacon Hill. Obviously, going into the season is all Cade McNamara. Off season again, all Cade McNamara. Going into this game, the poise you talked about definitely impressive. You mentioned the 11 for 27 and the drops. If the receivers caught that ball, has a completion percentage of 63%, which coming off the bench with damn near no reps or reps with first team, I should say. I'm okay with that. Probably adds another couple yards, probably gets you close to 150 range, I'd say, which isn't a bad performance coming in cold. But yeah, Deacon Hill reminded me of a quarterback we gave a lot of crap to, but didn't realize how good we had it with him. Big old Nate Stanley. You mentioned the quarterback sneak. He was a BSAT. I expect Deacon Hill to be just as good. Cannon arm, little inconsistent, like Nate Stanley.
Believe it or not, I'll take a little inconsistent.
Yeah.
That means at least you'll be good at some point.
Yeah, exactly. So not as concerned as I thought I was going to be with the injury to Cade McNamara. To be honest with you, Tanner, I wasn't overly impressed with Cade McNamara. Obviously, not 100%. So you got to take this with a grain of salt. But maybe some fresh life in the Iowa offense might change a couple things. Again, another thing, injuries happen. We didn't have another high rushing performance, but we're going to get Caleb Johnson back this weekend, so that will probably improve. But this was a classic Iowa performance, mid to lower tier offense, being held together by special teams and defense. Cooper DeJean, again, can't give him enough credit. Had one of the craziest games, pick a return punt. Tanner, I want to get your thoughts. You were obviously there, like I said. How freaking loud was it,
dude?
Cooper DeJean?
I'm telling you. So, the two loudest points in the game were far and away. The first one was, of course, when right at the downturn of that Iowa offense, the Fire Brian chants were so loud.
Yeah.
Surely you could hear them on TV. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
loud and clear.
The commentators made a comment.
Yeah.
Good. Well, and of course, the key moment in the game, it was a good, like, maybe 5-play stretch where Michigan State had the ball. They had a big third down. Iowa had just cut it to 16-13. No, they just tied it 16-16. Excuse me. They had just tied the game. Michigan State got the ball back. Kinnick was rocking. Of course, there were a few false starts in that, very similar to the Penn State game.
Yeah.
But
the experience is coming out, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, but so that defense was awesome, and the crowd was super loud. And then that punt going into the DeJean return, and even you could tell off the punter's foot, it was kind of a low line drive kick.
Yeah,
not a lot of hang time, not a lot of time for his gunners to get down there, and you could feel the energy in the stadium slightly rise. Everyone's like, sick. Oh my God, he's got room. And then, of course, he breaks a few tackles and the place goes ballistic. One of the loudest, might have been the loudest I've ever heard Kinnick. It was crazy. And then, of course, they get the ball back. Kinnick is rocking just as loud again. A few more false start penalties. And then we get the turnover on top of that. The fumble on the sideline where hopefully that wide receiver was okay. He did leave the game due to an injury, but he got leveled on that play. Yeah. And Iowa, of course, gets that recovery, and Kinnick goes crazy once again. So that 5-play stretch was probably the loudest I've ever heard it, man. It was crazy. Granted, though, I at that Penn State game with the three
Yeah.
straight false
Three
starts, 'cause
straight
I think
false starts.
it was
Yeah.
three straight in this game too. I
Yeah.
think. But yeah, that it was crazy. It was
Yeah.
crazy. Super super loud.
Definitely.
Shout out Hawkeye Faith.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best. Just want to shout out a couple more people for this Iowa team. Sebastian Castro had that one pick. Jamari Harris, another pick. Sealed the game for us late with that pick. One of them had the late pick. I want to say it was Sebastian Castro, but I could be wrong on that. I didn't realize Cooper DeJean's one return was that one.
Yeah, because their punter, by the way, he had one of the best punts I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and then
that was
he had
insane.
a crazy shank. However, not quite sure it's his fault. It was a terrible snap from the long snapper. But I remember that gave Iowa the ball pretty much already in field goal range with down 3. So it was a big shank from the punter and big bad snap from the long snapper. But yeah, I mean, the one return he got took it to the house.
Yeah. So obviously we had that, but I also want to shout out our kicker, Drew Stevens, 4 for 4, hitting a 53-yarder in this one when kicking was definitely relevant. And then, of course, punting is winning. Live, laugh, punt. Corey Taylor, 7 punts, 342 yards, averaging 48.9. Definitely played a big role in this one with the change of field. But yep, Iowa, typical win here. Relied heavily on special teams and defense. But impressive performance by Deacon Hill, even though the stats might not say so.
Yeah, I totally agree. And as long as we're shouting out some unsung heroes, I got one more for you. This dude has been an absolute beast on this Iowa defense. Not a lot of love, because most of the focus is on the offense. Nick Jackson,
a
transfer from Virginia,
yeah,
linebacker. He's an absolute stud. He definitely showed up against Penn State. He had 13 tackles against Penn State, put in another 10 today against Michigan State, which included 4 solos and then 8 solos against Penn State. That's 46 tackles on the year.
Not bad.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Not bad.
I believe he did win some Big Ten defensive honors, but yeah, he's a beast. He's everywhere for that Iowa defense, especially with some lost guys via the NFL and transfer portal. So he's been a huge get for that Phil Parker defense.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see our Iowa defense come alive in this one because people were starting to doubt them a little bit, especially after last week.
People who don't know ball might add.
That's true. I could keep shouting out, guys, but we're gonna move on. Tanner, you were very high on this team in the NFL. The Dolphins, after absolutely dominating the previous week, go to Buffalo, and the Bills took care of business, 48-20. Not even particularly close. Tanner, what were your thoughts on this one? This is not what you or I were expecting here.
No, it was certainly not what I was expecting. I still think the path is ahead of you if you're the Dolphins. Certainly no need to react. But I have to. The praise has to be as loud as the disrespect was after that Jets game.
Yeah.
I was talking about Josh Allen. Again, for a long time I've been on the train that Josh Allen is too careless with the football, that people are, yes, he does have some intangible gifts, but putting him over like someone like Joe Burrow was crazy to me. And of course, Joe Burrow, I don't think he's healthy.
No.
It's hard to take two. It's not a matter of opinion. He's not healthy.
Yeah.
But anyway, just so I'm not quite sure how much stock we can put in Joe Burrow's current play with that injury, but Josh Allen has been an absolute stud since week 1.
Yeah.
And this week was absolutely no different. He put in 320 yards, which included 4 touchdowns, 0 picks. He was incredibly efficient, 21 for 25. A team that's really running has never really been in their DNA. They're not really, it's just not the way their offense goes. They don't run the ball very well. But he put in 17 yards on the ground himself, including a rushing touchdown. So that's 5 total touchdowns for Josh Allen. He was an absolute beast. And that offense was unstoppable. Put up 48, and there are not a lot of teams that are going to beat you when you put up 48.
Yeah, absolutely. On the offensive side, I just want to give another shout out. Stephon Diggs finally came alive, 6 receptions, 120 yards, 3 touchdowns. Definitely helped Josh Allen get in a groove. But I also want to give props to the Bills defense. I mean, we saw this Dolphins team put up 70 earlier this season, and it seemed like they could not do anything. Micah Hyde for Hawkeye, former Hawkeye,
Yes.
getting a pick in on this one, but just absolutely dominant. We had Devon Achane got his. He still got 8 carries, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns. But Raheem Mostert, who had just as good of game a week ago as Achane, he only ran the ball for 9 yards.
Yeah.
0 touchdowns. Just absolutely eliminated kind of their whole offense. They let Tua throw the ball, but wasn't very successful in getting the end zone with only 1 touchdown. And again, that 1 interception. Tyreek Hill wasn't impressive, only 3 receptions, 0 touchdowns again. So, just an overall great game by the Bills.
Yeah, got to give love to that defense, man. Got 2 turnovers, held them to 20 points, took Tyreek Hill basically out of the game, which if you take Tyreek Hill out of the game, there's a very good chance that Tua doesn't have a good a game as he normally does.
Yeah.
And Miami was very undisciplined as well. 8 penalties for 98 yards. So, compared to 4 for 20 for the Bills. So yeah, it's minor setback for Miami. Definitely no need to overreact, but yeah, very impressive from the Bills, and it felt like that was a statement from the Bills.
Absolutely,
saying, we're still here. We don't care that you scored 70 last week. People are writing us off in this division, and we don't know why.
So. We didn't though. We both had the Bills last week.
Yeah,
just
saying.
Swish.
Just saying. We know ball.
Throw that out there. We know ball. These next 2 teams here do not know ball. The Broncos versus the Bears. Battle of the 0-3 teams. The Broncos eke out a win in this one, 31-28. Taryn, there's a lot going wrong in Chicago, but what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think this was a disaster for Chicago in many ways because after watching a game like this, it's real hard to just say we're done with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Because boy, did he look good, right? So now you have him playing like this, which again, like on the surface, of course, it's a good thing, right? You want him to look good. Maybe you can have that franchise player, that franchise quarterback under center. But in terms of decision-making, it makes it a little bit of a harder decision now after he looks as good as he does, Sam. He went 28 for 35. That is a quick math. What is that for? 80% completion percentage?
Yeah.
80% completion percentage, 335 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did have a pick and a fumble. So ball security is a little bit of an issue. But Sam, I would take an interception and a fumble and a fumble lost for 28 for 35 for exactly 35 and 4 touchdowns. The offense looked really good. I mean, that Bears offense looked good. The defense is awful. And obviously up 28-7. You'd like to be able to win that.
Yeah, absolutely. Justin Fields, I believe I called this a legacy game for him last week. And boy, he made the Bears think a little bit about the trash he's been receiving all season, and honestly, deservedly so. Both of these defenses are really, 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 really bad. They are awful. They're so bad.
Yeah.
Like
not great.
The fact the team that lost had a better defense is wild. I mean, Chicago had 471 yards.
Well, they had a better defensive performance.
Yeah. 471 yards in the NFL is kind of unheard of, and usually you're winning this game. So
at least that in the loss is
that's tough. But when you get 10 penalties for 91 yards, definitely not a way to excel. But I want to go to late in the game. It's about 2 minutes 2 minutes, 2:20 around there. The Bears are driving. They're in 35-yard field goal range, and Eberflus decides to go for it on 4th and 1 when they're tied.
Yeah. I don't get it. Obviously, you'd like to take the lead there. But and then again, even if you go for it, which again, I don't think is the right decision. I don't know if I could have come up with a worse play call.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Then what I guess maybe it doesn't call the offensive plays, but he should hear that play call in his headset and be like, no, we're punting this if that's your play call. Yeah, it's just bad. And I think this game made one decision clear, and it wasn't about Justin Fields.
Yeah.
It was about Eberflus. You keep him around as long as you're trying to lose, and then you got to get rid of him.
Yeah.
I wasn't very high on the hire in the first place, and he's a defensive coach. His defense is awful, and they even invested in their defense this past offseason. Didn't seem to help much at all. And he's not doing much for Fields. He's not doing much for any sort of offensive growth, any of your young players like that. And he's obviously in-game decision-making isn't going so well for him either, unless, of course, this is all an inside job to lose as many games.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case. I do think Eberflus is a terrible head coach, and that is the decision that became easy for me.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting going into this one. There's a lot more things wrong with the Bears than just Justin Fields' play. That is for sure. Another team on the decline right now, the Bengals lose to Tennessee Titans 27-3. Tanner, what is going on in Cincinnati?
That is a great question. Obviously, their offense looks terrible, right? Joe Burrow is he's injured, and it's worse than we thought, right? And I think there has to be a lot of self-reflection that goes on in that front office, because they don't have a backup quarterback, or of course they do have a backup quarterback, but they're looking at the play from Joe Burrow and his leg, and that's still better than what their backup could get.
Yeah.
You have to go out and get it back. You are a championship caliber roster. You absolutely have to go and get at least a competent backup who can still win you football games, allow Joe Burrow to heal, and maybe come back for a playoff / Super Bowl push late in the season. But that's what's costing them right now. He feels like he has to play because there is not that backup behind him, and he looked awful, and the offense looks awful.
Yeah.
Simply put. Also, yes, that's the main story, and if their offense was good, they would be winning a lot of these games. And if Burrow was healthy, they'd probably be winning a lot of these games. But what happened to the defense?
Yeah.
The Tennessee Titans, quarterbacked by Ryan Tannehill and led by, of course, Derrick Henry, Tractor Cito, absolute beast, right? He's been a beast for a very long time. He's getting up there in age.
Yeah.
And he's shown it a few times. He had an absolute hell of a game today. I mean, Derrick Henry himself put in 122 yards and threw for a touchdown, and the Titans put up 400 total yards. That just can't happen, especially against a defense that is supposed to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have much to add. It seems there's growing turmoil within the Bengals locker room. Obviously, everyone saw the post-game interview with Ja'Marr Chase saying he was open. I mean, 7 receptions, obviously not what we're used to seeing from Ja'Marr Chase, especially with only 73 yards. But, you have to take into consideration Joe Burrow is not the Joe Burrow we've seen from past couple of years. It's just crazy. I want to say T. Higgins also went down in this one. Yep, he did a broken rib. So another tough blow to that already struggling offense.
I want to know kind of who, because he's obviously mad. I don't know if he's just mad at the situation or who he's mad at in that scenario, because like Joe Burrow's his boy. They played together in college.
Mhm.
Obviously won a national championship in college, made a Super Bowl together. Things were all gravy for them for a very long time. And then then he gets hurt. He's not playing as well as he should. And then then Jamar Chase gets all pissy. I don't know if he's mad at Burrow for trying to stick it out. I don't know if he's mad at the front office for not getting them a backup so his boy can rest. I don't really know who he's mad at.
Who's he mad at?
Yeah.
But he's mad.
He's
mad.
fair enough. A team, again, Super Bowl expectations, starting 1-3 and looking terrible. Not good.
Yeah, definitely not. A lot of concerns in Cincy. I think it comes down to Joe Burrow's health, because it's clearly not there. But moving on to a team that's undefeated but had a tough battle on Sunday. This game ended up going into overtime. Eagles fighting off the Commanders 34-31. Tanner, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think right here for the Commanders, I was impressed. Right, it was a gutsy road performance. Sam Howell, 29 for 41, 290 and a touchdown. He might be a competent NFL quarterback right now.
Yeah,
and that is what you want to see, obviously, from Sam Howell. Terry McLaurin is an absolute beast. He went 8 for 86, even against again a good team in Philly. My takeaway for Philly, that offense looked good, as good as it normally does. AJ Brown, 9 for 175 and 2 touchdowns. Absolute stud. But that defense needs to get healthy. Specifically, that secondary needs to get healthy.
absolutely.
They are ravaged by injuries right now. I still think they're more than 3 points better than Washington, but again, they won a big division game, and they're just not healthy right now. That defensive line is pretty healthy. They're really good. Secondary seems to be getting torched right now, and they just need Did I mention they need to get healthy?
Yeah. Like you said, injuries are why this game was close. But like you said, Sam Howell played well. I mean, he had a minute 43 to take his team down, get in the end zone, and he did that against even an injured Eagles team is still a great defense. So props to Sam Howell, but definitely I think the big takeaway from this is the Eagles need to get healthy, especially in that division, minus the Giants. But
I mean, Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
Go for 2, man. Everybody in the world knew it was the right decision. You're not going to win this game in overtime in Philly. You're just not going to. Last play of the game, they score the game-tying touchdown, or they were down 7, score the touchdown to bring them within 1. Got to go for 2 there.
Yeah.
You just have to.
Yeah, definitely.
Big underdogs on the road.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a lot of concerns with that play call. But Tanner, that kind of wraps it up for the football talk. Let's hop into the players of the week. We've been doing this since last season. Again, just a refresher, nominating a player that had an outstanding performance. So Tanner, who is your NFL player of the week?
Yeah, so I have a guy in mind. When you look at the stats, obviously this guy was awesome. I think there were a few people at his position that maybe had a little bit better of a week, but I'm going to give it to this guy because of one reason, because he's a rookie and because he is taking the NFL by storm and leading his team to 2 straight big-time victories last week, upsetting the Jaguars to a bunch of people's survivor pool dismay, myself included. And then this week, absolutely dismantling the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that defense that I've heard was awesome. To be fair, they are awesome.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud had no problem tearing them apart. A rookie quarterback, 16 for 30. So not all that efficient in terms of a completion percentage standpoint, but he went for 306 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 30-6 domination of Pittsburgh. And the most important thing, 0 interceptions. CJ Stroud has yet to throw an interception this year. The Texans are 2-2 with 2 very impressive wins, and their division is bad.
Very bad.
Is bad, and probably the best team in that division, Jacksonville, is a team they've already beat on the road.
Yeah.
So Jacksonville has to go to Houston in their next matchup. So Houston has a very real shot at winning this division, mainly in part due to the exceptional play of rookie quarterback CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I mean,
0 picks.
CJ Stroud's a dog. I mean, we said kind of going into this season, we thought he was going to be the best rookie quarterback this year, and he is proving that. Just to add on to the type of play we've seen from CJ Stroud, I got this stat during the game. The most pass attempts with 0 interceptions to start an NFL career. Tom Brady 101, Case Keenum 102, Carson Wentz, wow, 102, Warren Moon, whoever that is, 103, and then there's CJ Stroud sitting at the top, 151. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he is by far the front runner for the rookie of the year, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Thus far, at least.
Thus far, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's gonna be what, him and Bijan?
Yeah,
going back and
Bijan.
forth.
Yeah, except the Falcons just don't know how to use or when to use them. So that's a little frustrating. But for college football player of the week, we are going back to back. What? Kentucky? College football player of the week.
What?
I was on the defensive side last week. I'm going on the offensive side. Ray Davis, running back for Kentucky against Florida, picking up a big win. 26 carries, 280 yards for 10.8 average, 3 touchdowns, 1 reception, 9 yards, 1 touchdown. That is 4 touchdowns in a big win over a ranked opponent against Florida. It's hard to not give it to Ray Davis. Back to back with Kentucky football players. Who would have thought?
Dude, obviously you say those numbers, they're crazy. When you carry the ball 26 times and average over 10 yards a carry,
that's crazy.
Stupid, man. And I was watching this before heading over to Kinnick over in Iowa City, and every time I looked up, he was in the clear. And it was ridiculous how well he played. And then, I mean, how his teammate also had a pretty good game, right? I felt like when he got subbed in, he was still getting, 6 yards a carry. So that Kentucky run game is for real, man.
Yeah, it's impressive. Kentucky is definitely a team I think people are surprised by with how well they're doing this year. But
to be fair, I did say 6-8 yards a carry. He only had 4 carries. We went for 32 yards. So that's 8 yards a carry.
Jeez, that's insane, bro. But it's time for Hickam Tanner. Tanner, you went crazy last week. So absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Oh, it's all the way over there. Can he get it?
I got it. You're good. Tanner, you went almost perfect.
Most important one.
Most important
is
one.
My downfall.
All right. So a little recap here. Just run through last week's pick'em. Utah versus Oregon State. I had Utah. You had Oregon State. That's 1 for Tanner. Then LSU, Ole Miss. We're both on Ole Miss. That's 2 for Tanner. Notre Dame, Duke. You were on Notre Dame. I was on Duke. That's 3. Lions, Packers. You were on Lions. That's 4. Dolphins, Bills. We're both on Bills. That's 5 for you. Bills, Broncos. You were on Broncos. That's 6 for you. And then you trusted the Hogs a little too much with your Superdog plus 6.5. Didn't quite cover that. but you take a slim lead, 23 to 22 in the pick'em standings. Glad we introduced the Superdog because we wanted it to be competitive throughout the season, and it seems to be doing that. But let's see if you can widen your gap here. Let's start off with college football, the Red River rivalry, Texas, Oklahoma. Who you got?
Yeah, dude, Oklahoma has been a pretty impressive team thus far. A team that we kind of forgot about after last season. They did not look good this year, coming back, start to look good again, right? Maybe that Oklahoma team is back. I don't think they take down Texas. Texas has just been too strong this year. Again, they had a little bit of a scare against Wyoming, able to get that win. And then they had a tough first half against Baylor, I want to say,
Yeah.
and then just opened it up in the second half, no problem. So I'm going with Texas here. I think they get this win over Oklahoma.
Not so. Like you said, Texas hasn't had that complete game. We've had, I think I'm seeing Oklahoma come into Austin and get this dub. I really like what I've seen from their quarterback, Dylan Gabriel. And I think it's going to be a shootout, but I got Dylan Gabriel and the Sooners pulling out this one. Next up, we have LSU 6.5 point favorite traveling to Missouri to take on the Tigers. Tanner, who do you have here?
Yeah, I got to make this joke. I got the Tigers in this game.
Ah, nice.
You did. I got to.
Nice.
You know I got to. But in all seriousness, give me the dog, baby. I'm going to take in Mizzou. I love a home dog. We all know this. And that defense has been very suspect for LSU. You know, what are they, 31 to Arkansas and then 55 to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Granted, Mizzou's offense isn't as good as Ole Miss's, but this team can play. They're ranked number 21 in the nation. They've had some good wins. They had a good win against Kansas State at home with a crazy long field goal at the end of regulation. And that Kansas State team is also no joke. Give me Missouri at home to pull the upset.
Tanner, that's a fantastic pick. I totally agree. So many question marks on LSU's defensive side. I think we're going to get a lot of scoring in this one. But give me Missouri, home dogs. I love it. Let's move on to another SEC battle. Kentucky, Georgia. Georgia is favored by 15 in this one. Who do you have?
I absolutely love this Kentucky team, right? It was kind of almost like a mini game of the year, maybe game of the week or game of the month. I'll go game of the month for me last week over Florida. Of course, that did hit. We just talked about it. If this was in Kentucky, we're having a conversation here. I don't think they're winning this game. Give me Georgia at home. Plus 15, though. It's not my super dog, but I do like Kentucky to cover the spread, but I think Georgia wins it.
Terrible. Give me the I'm not impressed with Georgia this year. They are not the number one dominant team we've seen year in and year out these past couple of years. Took it down to the wire against Auburn, who was ranked by, I can't remember the team, pick six preview had them as a lower offense than Iowa. And Georgia gave up 20 to them last second. I got Kentucky. I love what I'm seeing from the Kentucky Wildcats. I think they go into Athens, come out with a shocking win. Give me the Wildcats.
Yeah, I mean, that running game was awesome. You got Devin Leary, an experienced quarterback, from NC State coming in. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Another SEC battle. Alabama A&M. A&M is favored by 2.5 here. Tanner, who do you got in this one?
This is a tough one. A&M, obviously, I wasn't super impressed with A&M when they beat an Auburn team again that kept it close to Georgia. I obviously picked against them for my super dog. That bit me in the ass. But I still am going to go with Nick Saban. We've heard all week about Alabama and how they but they lost to Texas, and then they lost. There was another game they did, right? Or am I tripping?
Are you tripping? Let me give it a good search. Did they? I feel like they have though. Let's see.
Have they lost? I think they might. Anyway,
Nope, just
one.
Texas. Maybe Ole Miss because that was pretty close, and then
Maybe that.
Bama kind of took care of business.
Yeah, but I just it boils down to who am I trusting, Nick Saban or Jimbo Fisher? Jimbo will be at midfield in the middle of the game, and I'm of course I'm just going to go with Nick Saban. They've heard all week about how he doesn't have a quarterback, about how plenty of teams have passed him, and of course that loss to Texas still is in Nick Saban's mind. I'm going to go with the Tide on the road.
Another great pick by you, Tanner. I like Alabama in this one. I think the inexperience of Max Johnson for the Aggies is really going to show against Alabama in this one. So I'm taking Alabama. Not much else to it. Tanner, next one, heading out west. Washington State versus UCLA. UCLA's favored at home 3.5. Who you got here?
Yeah, man. My two things. What do I like more? I love home dogs, but I can't do it, man. I'm going Wazoo. This team has been super freaking impressive. They've scored a ton of points. Cam Ward looks awesome. And UCLA, that offense was shut down by Utah. Utah, I think, is a pretty good defensive team. But Utah's really struggled on offense. So I'm putting more stock in the Utah offensive struggles than the UCLA defense.
Oh, gotcha.
Utah only had 14. So
yep.
But I just love what I'm seeing from Wazoo. They got that big win against Oregon State. What was this? 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
So I'm gonna go with Wazoo, man. I like it. And we all know there's not much of a home field advantage for UCLA anyway. So
yeah,
give me the Cougs.
Another great pick, Tanner. Cam Ward, kind of a dark horse to win this Heisman this year. I've been high on Wazoo all year. I'm taking them again here. Haven't been overly impressed with UCLA. Been very, very impressed with the Cougars. Give me Washington State. Last game we're going to pick here, going on the NFL side of things. The NFL side is not great this year, or not great this week. Could have been a little better.
I agree. The NFL is not great this year.
Let's go. Cowboys, 49ers, battle of two of the top teams in the NFL. 3.5 point favorite for the 49ers. Tanner, who do you have here?
This is spicy. This is freaking awesome. I just talked about Boo NFL, but specifically this game, yay NFL. But with all that being said, I am so sorry, Sam. Give me the Niners. They're the most complete team in the National Football League. Give Brock Purdy an offseason to work with that team, knowing he's going to be the starter, and even Kyle Shanahan an offseason to form that offense around Brock Purdy. I think he's looked great so far this year. That team, again, like I said, most complete team in the NFL. Weapons on weapons on weapons on weapons. And the game's in San Francisco, or I guess, where is it? Santa Clara? Is that where they play?
Yeah, I believe so.
Basically, San Francisco. Give me the Niners.
Terry, I got to disagree with you on this one. I totally get where you're coming from. I really think this comes down to, can that unbelievable defensive line for the Cowboys get to Brock Purdy and make him uncomfortable. That's what it's going to come down to. Because we know Dak's probably going to throw a pick or 2 or 3, and Christian McCaffrey's going to get his. But we need the Cowboys need to make Brock Purdy, Jesus, uncomfortable. And I think they do. I think Micah Parsons has a huge game here. Give me the Cowboys close. I think it's going to be a close, low-scoring game because both of these defenses are top 3, but I got the Cowboys in a very close one.
Yeah, it seems like that's really the Cowboys' key to victory is just make it gross.
Yeah,
make it gross. I get in Brock Purdy's kitchen. Don't allow Christian McCaffrey to be Christian McCaffrey. and do that. But yeah, if there's any sort of high scoring advantage.
Oh, absolutely. Totally agree with you. Tanner, we brought this in this season. We've been up and down, I'd say, with our super dogs. But Tanner, give me yours for this week.
Yes, Sam, not a great week for me on the super dog front. Trusted the Hogs did not work out for me. Let's go with a different school that's associated with you. I'm not going to leave the state. Let's get gross, Sam. Give me the Cyclones. I'm going with Iowa State at home over TCU. We've talked about TCU at length. They have bounced back a little bit from that Colorado loss, but they lost a lot of starters. And Iowa State, their one conference home game so far this year, they played pretty well, took down Oklahoma State. Under the lights at Jack Trice, I think it'll be a good to great atmosphere maybe over in Ames. I've got Iowa State covering, man. I think they'll be able to do it. Give me Iowa State +7 over TCU.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to stay in Iowa's conference. I got a Big Ten matchup here. A team I'm liking this year, and against a team I think is a little overrated. Give me Rutgers +14 versus Wisconsin. I like this. I'm not high on Wisconsin this year. Not overly impressed. Rutgers have been getting it done against Northwestern. Temple struggled against Michigan, but who hasn't this year? And it's going to be a tough one going into Madison, a rocking place. But I like Rutgers +14. It's a Big Ten matchup, not a lot of points scored. I like this one to keep it close. So I got Rutgers with the points against Wisconsin.
I like that pick a lot. I certainly thought about it. Rutgers, very pesky team.
Yeah.
Very pesky team. And any Big Ten team that has to go to Piscataway this season, big time danger zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're a pretty good football team.
Yeah. So those are our pick'ems, our super dogs. So stay tuned to see how we do on that front. Tanner, we do have a question. Jaron Kirkendall wants to know what our top 5 heading into college basketball season. With the media days around college basketball, we're actually going to put that question off for a little bit. College football is in kind of the thick of things. We will dive into college basketball later down the road, probably around December, January time, towards the end of college football. But we will keep it on doc.
We got you
to answer that one. So stick with us for a little bit. But Tanner, that wraps it up for episode 104. We talked about a lot in this one. Winners and losers. We dived into some YouTubers, some baseball with MLB playoffs going on. A lot of fun there. Hopped into some college football. Talked about the Iowa Hawkeyes and their new quarterback, Deacon Hill. The revival of the Buffalo Bills, the struggling Bengals, the CJ Stroud show in Houston. Ray Davis putting on a show in the Bluegrass State. Wrapped up with pick'em. See if Tanner can actually go perfect this week. But we covered a lot. Let us know what you think of our players of the week. What do you think about the Bengals? What do you think about the Bills? Is the Dolphins need to be concerned? Let us know what you thought of this LSU Ole Miss game. A lot of fun stuff this past weekend. Let us know. We want to hear from you. Who's your super dog going into this weekend? You can follow us on TikTok, not Twitter, X, and Instagram at crunchtime_pod. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe to our YouTube, Crunch Time with the N326 duo. With that, episode 104 has wrapped up. The clock has run out on this one, but we'll see you on the next one on Crunch Time.
See ya.